Hello again, week 3 for Classroom English. Today we will start by going over your assessment. So that was the week 1 assessment, I called it, or rather the week 2 assessment of week 1, which was covering how we learn. And we did various things like Bloom's taxonomy, briefly about multiple intelligences theory, and a number of other difficult things like this diagram. And then we'll go on to input methods. Now, these terms, input and output, are very mechanical. Makes us sound like a computer. It's from somebody, Paul Nation, who talks about input, meaning how we receive language. So that's listening first and reading second. And then output, which is how we produce language. So by speaking first and writing second. So we'll be doing input methods today. First one, it says they're keeping it simple, focusing on easy language use. You are teaching English to grade 3, 4, 5, and 6 learners in Korea, the EFL environment. So they're not getting English outside, as we said, like an ESL environment where you're surrounded by English if you were teaching English in America, for example. And here the idea is to keep the language as simple as possible for you as a teacher. And on the site, when you click on Simplify, it brings up the PDF. Now, first of all, these PDFs are for my regular course. I said this last week, so some of the numbers are a little wrong. It's week 3 because we're doing this in week 3 instead of my usual week 4. And ignore the assessment. Only one student did the assessment last week from here. Great, but unfortunately not necessary. So I'm sorry for that confusion. It's just too much work to make brand new PDFs. We're just using this as the guideline for our digital delivery. So this is the important part. The pinky red, meaning the don'ts, the avoids, and the milky green, which is the good, the use type language. So we'll look at that and also, as we said, input methods of language, listening, teaching listening, and reading. So without further ado, we were going to look at the assessment. Now, I made one mistake, unfortunately, in asking you. Now, the first one, by the way, first thing, when you take the assessment, please use the email address that you have signed up to Google Classroom with. All right. So if I go to education and I pull up people, I have a list of my students, and sometimes I need to contact you, and I do this, and I say, okay, email a student, and your email will come up. So I'm not going to share that student's email with everybody, but yes, I am. Sorry, cancel. So if you're not signed in to that email, if you have a different email address, you will not get your score. Now, I know some of you did that by mistake and will do by mistake again, but you'll be saving me a lot of trouble by having to go through. So now I have to go through one by one to check that the registered email is correct, that you did get your score, and you are happy people. Now, let me see. Back again. So we were talking about this assessment. Now, I asked you for, let me see, for as your first question, Where is it? Week 1 assessment. Right. So this is what I get from the responses for your assessment. I make an Excel file, which comes out like this. Now, your first question was just give me your name, major, student number. That's because Google Classroom does not automatically register your scores. You have to be part of the Google Suite, which originally is only for universities. I have tried it. I signed up for it last semester, but it didn't work for me. So we're still using the manual input system, which means sign in with your Google Classroom email, as I just said. Do the quiz. You only get one try. There's no time limit to the actual try. I mean, you could start it and then go and find the answers and come back before your computer switches off anyway. You can only submit your quiz results once. And I have to go through and then release the scores. You cannot see your score until I manually release them. Now, I made a mistake in asking you to give your name first, then major, then student number, because this is what happens. I get your email address, I get your email address that you used, you were signed into when you took the quiz, and then this. Now, when of course I reorder the columns, sort from A to Z, it comes like this, and the majors are all mixed up. I should have, and again, I forgot to ask you to give your major first. So when I sort the column, your major will come up, so all the music students will be there in one group, etc. So now I've got to do this. Now, I'm telling you this because many of you were interested in digital teaching. How do I become a better digital teacher? I hope that you get it. Your future is not like my current teaching experience, that you will be in a classroom. I'm sure most of you want to be around people. You enjoy the company of children. You enjoy watching their enthusiasm, their motivation, and their learning, their progress, and their naivety. Digital teaching is a very different format, and I don't believe it's my goal to teach you how to teach digitally, because I'm still learning too. But there's a few things, a few pointers we'll go over just for clarity to help you understand how to do this should you be teaching, even nowadays, teaching remotely. So yeah, Google Classroom is not perfect for these things. So from the next week, I will ask you to give your major first, then your student number probably, and your name. Or I might even ask in separate questions, because once I make separate columns, of course, then I can organize and sort accordingly. Okay, without further ado, the first question. We can summarize the 3 learning theories as, and you had to choose all the correct answers. Now, when I'm making this quiz, this assessment, there are 2 different types of questions I use mostly. One is a drop-down menu, like checkboxes. So you check as many boxes as are true. So you could have clicked all 5, I think. Let me check that now. Right, so you can see here when I'm making the quiz, I have these kind of choices. Multiple choice, checkboxes, drop-down menu. Those are the main ones I use. There's also these that I don't generally use because it's just too difficult to go over all the assessments and then decide who gets points and who doesn't. This is a nice final system of you get points or you don't. So I've chosen checkboxes, meaning you check as many as you think are correct. Of course, your clue here is 3. So you're choosing the three. And it was constructivism, behaviorism, cognitivism. We covered, it was a slightly different diagram, but you'll see it's summarized here. And behaviorism, stimulus response, as in the B.F. Skinner we learned in high school about ringing a bell, giving food to a dog, and it salivates because it's hungry, it wants to eat. And you keep doing this stimulus response until a few weeks later, it salivates just by hearing the bell. It's like us in the ice cream truck when we're children. Cognitivism, flow of knowledge, and then constructivism, mental knowledge models. And we didn't talk about the other two. Well, I did briefly. Learning through experience, which I said was what my classes are meant to be about. The micro lesson, learning by doing. And of course, we talked about, Vygotsky, learning in social environments, learning from each other. So that was that. This one, I've also said required for the questions. I generally say required for all questions if it's graded. Because if I don't and you miss a question by accident, you automatically lose that point. Bloom taxonomy. What are the three lower order thinking skills? Now I've mixed a number of different ones here. So you remember IQ, intelligent quotient, social quotient, and emotional quotient. That one obviously is not Bloom's. These ones were. So if we go to Bloom's taxonomy, and of course you can do this during your quiz. As a teacher, I don't like memorization style quizzes, the stuff that you went through in high school, you poor people, having to memorize stacks of facts and that. We have knowledge at our fingertips nowadays. We have phones attached to us which have these answers. Why test on memorization ability when actually we have access to this, and especially in the digital era. So of course you can look this up during your quiz, your assessment, as you can if you were in my actual classrooms. They're all open book quizzes. Remember, understand, and apply. The lowest order thinking skills. Lots. The upper three are called HOTS, higher order thinking skills. You must do these, complete these before achieving these thinking skills. So apply, understand, remember. Close myself down. So that was that. Right. Understand, remember, apply. Right. Okay. Which of the following are true? Now, again, let's see. It's check boxes, which means you check all the boxes you think are correct. It's different from multiple choice. Multiple choice, you can choose all the possible responses. So here it is multiple choice. If I click one, I cannot click another because it changes. So you know how many answers there are. With the checkboxes, you don't know how many are correct. I know students complain that that's too difficult, but that's how it shows me that you really understand the material. You're not just doing Coca-Cola, mashita, and you have a chance of getting it right just through good luck. This is not a gamble, it's you demonstrating your knowledge. And in this case, they're all correct. Many of you tripped up on that. So when I go to responses, that question, only 30 of you got it correct. That does not surprise me because many of you are like, they can't all be correct. But they can because it's me. And now you are aware. It's not a dirty trick. I'm not trying to make you fail. I'm making you aware that quizzes, you need to respond with knowledge. So please read the whole question, read all the answers. Don't just get to one and say, ah, that's it. Move to the next one. Go through the whole quiz. There's not many questions. It's a short assessment, but each is 1 point in this case. And you can usually see that. I think it tells you, I've allowed you to see how many points. So you're aware of the difficulty of each answer. Which of the following are true? Right, so they're all true. Good learner practices in education. Building intrinsic motivation. Giving learners a reason to want to learn. It could be automatic, just because they love your class, they love the games, or it could be something that they have themselves, a reason to be there for themselves. And as I said with games, that could just be, I want to win if you're competitive. For adults, it's, you know, I want to get a better job, or I want to be better at my job. Building self-confidence, a key aspect of elementary school English education in Korea. Allowing students to take risks, to take chances. Raising the affective filter would mean making students more nervous, more afraid. You want to lower the filter. Consider that filter as a barrier. It's a wall between you and the teacher and the students. The higher the wall, the more the Mexicans can't come in. Sorry, that was a joke. The higher the wall, the more they are unable to connect with you. You can't correct all errors. It takes too much time and reduces their confidence, and also makes them think that English is too difficult, is impossible. So you are doing the I+1 from someone called Stephen Krashen. It's just the input level of the students just a little more difficult. 1 or 2 more words that they don't know, or a way, like a grammar structure they're not sure of. Then the last one, which of the following are true? Again, I've selected checkboxes. I think it's the same for you. You get a circle when it's multiple choice, and checkbox is a square, so you should know how to answer these. Which of the following are true? Right, and we've said here, Seesaw is an example of a digital portfolio. Yes, things like this, where you were creating your materials and uploading them to the site. Again, only one, I think, asked about the Seesaw code. We're not using Seesaw this semester, so you don't need to make an account, so don't worry about that. And the other one, VCs, video conference. Basically a fancy way of saying a video call, I guess you can also call that. Google Meet, which hopefully we will use sometime with each of your majors, each of your classes this semester. FaceTime would be another. Any video conference call. Messenger has a similar thing. Moodle is an LMS. Moodle is a CMS, content management system. Seesaw is LMS is like what we're using here, Google Classroom and the Gyode Canvas. MOOC is the same as MPORG. No, massive open online course is studying through like Khan Academy, Open University, Coursera, Future Learn. MPORG, the multiplayer online role-playing games. Like, well, I don't play online games because I know how addictive they are, but what do you call it? Minecraft, etc., etc. Right, so that was your quiz. We'll do a similar quiz in many weeks. Hopefully you know what to do with that. And slowly I will get through this and give your scores. So if you haven't got your score yet, so if we go to the grades, sorry, education, I'm showing off your grades. If it says missing, that means either you didn't do it, or you signed in with a different email address. I will get to the bottom of that when I go through that this week. And if you still haven't got the score by next week, but you did this, get in touch with me. When you get in touch, of course, there's many ways. And just to remind you that when you're leaving comments on the stream, everyone can read it. So somebody's language assessment here, Hyunji, you can delete it yourself. I'm not going to delete it yet in case I lose your score, but you can delete it. Nobody else can, you or me. When you leave comments beside the classwork, so some of you, like, I tried to create a natural feeling of conversation between me and you. So if I click on a student, hello, is that Hakshin? I was generous with the scores. Hello. And I gave some questions and some of you responded, some of you didn't. So I've asked some questions. How rude, Hakshin, you don't respond to me. Again, this is, just a way to get to know you. I do read through the comments. It's not graded directly. It's a good sign of who's paying attention and who's interested, though, who has this motivation to do well. Obviously that I only read in my own time. If you want to speak to me quickly, you need to go to the contact on Weebly. And some of you have requested a quick response. Well, during social hours, I'll be as quick as possible, meaning I have a family, I have a son who is jumping up and down on me a lot at night and the weekends. So just when you're working. But that's my number. If you want to text me, Kakao Talk is the friendliest way to reach me for a reasonably quick response. And you can also email if there's something with a document or something else you don't want to contact through Kakao. So to go back to the first of the three things we're looking at, keeping it simple and reading and listening. Or rather listening, then reading. So keeping it simple, when you go to the class PDF, and again, that is accessible through number 3. If you click on that, you will see this PDF. In class, I usually ask you to prepare simple game instructions. Now, let's see, if I click on that, it didn't think it would work. If you go to micro lesson, the first thing you will see in week 3 is 4 different games, common, easy games. I've given you the Korean, so you can understand quickly what the game is, and exactly the same in English, right? Simon Says, I'm sure you've heard of. Simon Says, touch your nose. Simon Says, touch your head, etc. It's an action game. Many games you need to adapt, so it's focused on language, focused on a word group or groups, and maybe 1, 2, or 3 grammar structures. Simon Says works well with body parts. So instead of just saying Simon Says, because who cares who Simon is, you could say, all right, touch your nose, touch your ear. Is this my ear? No. So if students blindly copy you, that means they don't know where their ear is, they don't know the English word, or they're just blindly copying you. So you've turned what is a Simon Says game as an action game into action and listening through vocabulary understanding. Now, sure, again, all of these games can be improved. For example, you might say, well, students will just copy others. They'll be just like, copying others. You could say, well, the fastest one to do it correctly, so touch your nose, I get to sit down because it shows that I understand English, I processed it quickly, and leave the students who are less sure to continue in the activity because they're the ones who need the practice. And you would create some other task for the one sitting down. Good one is they become teacher too. So they call the commands or they watch for students who are touching the wrong body part. Anyways, so that's that game there. And to keep it simple, when you click on that game, these are teacher to teacher directions. It's what I would tell Will or Doctor Who, Dr. Park, or someone to how to play this game with their students. When you read the language, the procedure, the methods, it says clear a space in the classroom. Now again, that's my voice to a teacher. So I'm telling the teacher, okay, Will, you need to clear the space. You get the students facing you in a large semicircle. It's very different language from you speaking to children. So instead of clear a space in the classroom, you would need to say something different. So here's what someone said last semester. Clear the room and come to the middle of the class as a half circle. Now that's better. That's the teacher, this person, speaking or giving instructions to their students. Okay, but again, it's not just a simple sentence. You've got clear the room and come to the middle, and then this additional information of the class as a half circle. You could break that into shorter commands. Okay, clear the room. Clear the room even isn't that clear. How do I clear the room? Okay, move the desks to the side, and your actions would help any students who don't understand and they follow. Okay, now the room's clear. Okay, everyone come to the middle. Again, you're using actions. Come to the middle and you wait until that action has been completed. Okay, everyone's in the middle. Now make a half circle. Now again, half circle is an easier expression than semicircle. So you're choosing the easiest words, the shortest sentences, and the easiest grammar that students will understand. You could do this with a grade 3 class, which means their English is at the lowest level. They might only have 300-400 words in English or less. So any directions that you can also show through action, like I said, come to the middle, make a half circle, any actions you can do using your hands or drawing on the board helps. Part by part. That is building confidence, breaking it down into the shorter expressions that they need. Okay, it says, today we're going to play a game named Simon Says. Right, you don't actually need complex verb structures. If we go back to the PDF, if I can find it. So we were looking at PDF 3. It says in the avoid third person. So avoid the teacher, the next student. Avoid difficult verb structures. Will, if, could, should, must, the modals. And keep it in simple present tense. So you don't need we're going to. You just go. Okay. The game is called Simon Says. Who has played that game before? So you can avoid other verb structures like going to. Or even just say, let's play a game. Right. Now, we haven't got on to questions yet, but questions are very good. They are interactive. It is direct either to individuals or the class. It shows if they are listening first and second that they understand. So you don't want a list of directions. So that's why this game should have a lot of questions. Other things to avoid, let me see the PDF again. Yeah, when I'm talking to you as a student, I'm saying you do this, or handshake, you do this. You don't need to say, okay, the teacher does this. Even things like the next student in the group is not simple. If you name the student, okay, who's next? Okay, Bora, you do this. Keeps it direct, first and second person. If you're playing acrostic crosswords, let's play acrostic crosswords. Who knows how to play? This is not an elementary school word. So you would change that. So if you had that game, if we go to micro lessons and click on this one, you will soon find out that it's a game like this. So you could call it the hidden word game or a hidden word crossword. Keep it something simple that focuses on what the game is about. And it's about trying to find out what the hidden word is in this case. Boom, right. Where were we? Pidgin English. Sorry, let's go back to vague language. Rather than giving general terms, we will review some words. There is a time limit. Say, we will review the words we learned last week. Or maybe you've got the group on the board. We will review these 20 words. Pidgin English means English that's short, that students, people would understand, but it's not full grammar. Go, board, pick, chalk, write name. You want students to speak in natural, fluent sentences, so use them. Gradually, students will become familiar with them. And don't use too many words. Try to keep the minimum words necessary for students to stop, listen, understand. That's the end of part 1.